Good morning, this is Nicholas from Gandora Gaming, and today I bring you guys my Buggy deck profile 2025 post OP10, and I'm here to tell you I do think Buggy is the strongest blue deck of OP10. He's better than Usopp, he's better than Dolphy, now that the ban list is out, and he's really kind of insane. So if you don't know, Buggy is a 5-life leader that came out of OP09 that has the ability, activate main, he may trash one card from hand, rest 5 non. Then you can play out a cross-skilled character from hand, regardless of cost. The whole point of Buggy is that he's a very blue draw deck that wants to spam out 5 cost or higher characters using leader ability. This deck draws, discards a lot of cards, and filters through his deck pretty well in order to floodgate your opponent with a brand new promo. Now, this deck has always been on Rogue playable because the promo has never existed, and the ban list has never really favored it, or at least the meta. However, as the release of OP10, I actually do think Buggy is in a good spot in the metagame. With the death of Blue Dolphy and a whole bunch of other decks, I do think Buggy is in a great spot. Now, I will say Buggy had a great matchup into Blue Dolphy, just because his whole deck is 4 cost and your deck is locking 4 cost characters. However, he still could go pretty wide at you. If you never saw your 7 cost, you could still lose that game. It was still a very aggressive blue leader. Another thing you gained in the ban list is that Yellow lost Rygo, meaning they don't really have an answer to your higher cost blue characters, which feels really good. And the most important thing that you gained from this is the death of Black. Gecko Moria and, of course, Ice Age, more importantly, were really tough cards to deal with in the black matchup, just because they could kill all your shit pretty easily. Now it's actually really hard for them to kill 1 to 2 characters, especially when they're high cost characters. Meaning, unless you're playing against a Smoker, which I think is the best black deck left, I do think you're in a great matchup. I think your worst matchups have died. Yellow's removal is gone. Well, I guess they still have the 5 cost removal cards, but you play enough 6 cost and higher characters, but that doesn't really matter. Really, your biggest issue was always Black, and now that Black is in a horrible spot right now, besides Blackbeard, which you are actually really favored into Blackbeard, just due to the fact that his leader ability actually helps you. So he can never use leader ability, thus he can never floodgate you, and that if he's not floodgating his opponent, then he's just losing. So honestly, Buggy is just great into Blackbeard, and I think he's really good into lovely Revolutionary Army leader Bella Betty. I think this is a Blackbeard Bella Betty format, and Buggy is uniquely strong into both, because not only does Buggy counter both leaders due to the promo, but he just counters them in general. So let's actually just get straight into this. So again, he trashes the card for hand, rests $5 to play out any cross-skill type character from his deck. That includes the 10 drop. Now the 10 drop is unique because it's a 10-12 that bottom decks any character. But if you don't have 5 total 5 cost or higher characters on the field, of course this includes himself because you only have 5 on field, then he bottom decks himself as well. He's a really powerful card, and he's a must-have 4-of. He's our boss monster in the deck. However, the whole point is to set up a board where he sticks. So he's basically just a better red rock for the deck. He's just absolutely fantastic and one of the best cards for the deck. Next, we're playing 2 copies of Worst Kaido. I call him Worst Kaido because everyone always plays the Draw 4 Kaido, which even in my previous build, I also did. However, I feel like this deck is specializing in removal feels really good. The fact that this Kaido can bounce back at 8 cost and a 3 cost does feel pretty good. Bouncing back cards like Rayleigh and bouncing back some really strong 8 cost characters, which feels really good. I know we're not in this format, but in OP11 we get the new 8 cost Katakuri blocker, and that just feels really good to bounce back to hand as well. So Kaido is just a really good card to bounce stuff back to hand, which feels fantastic. Now, of course, the piece of resistance for this deck, the reason why this deck is actually insane, is the brand new Buggy promo, which I was lucky enough to get 4 copies of at my pre-release. Let's go. I got 6th place, and I was able to get the winner Buggy, which feels pretty awesome. Buggy, if you don't know, this card's absolutely insane. It's a 7/8. It can never attack. However, if your leader is Buggy, all characters with a cost of 3 or 4 cannot attack. And then I'll play a cross-skill type character with 6 or less from hand. Really insane card. Basically, this card allows you to win games because it's floodgating your opponent's most important stuff. If you go against a lovely Bella Betty player, all her shit's 4 and 3 cost characters. Like, don't get me wrong, she still does have the 5 cost Ivankov, But that's it. That's the only ever Revolutionary Army type character, that and Dragon, that aren't floodgated by this ability, which feels pretty good. And don't forget, you can always bounce back Dragon with Kaido if you really needed to. But this Buggy kind of floodgates all the 4-cost decks in the format. You go against a deck that's relying on the 4-cost of lowers, this card literally floodgates them. Now, it can never attack, but it's also cheating out your higher cost characters, which feels pretty good. We're also playing 4 copies of Crocodile because this is also just really good. He's just a 7/7 that on play plays a Cross Guild or Baroque Works type card from your hand onto the field. Feels really good to do, and overall just a fantastic card. It also has counter, which is great. We're also playing 2 copies of Jozu. Jozu's just a great card. He's a 6/7 that on play bounces a card you control to bounce back a 6 cost or less that your opponent controls, which feels really good. He has counter. He's not Baroque Works or Cross Guild, so he's not searchable. However, he's such a blue staple. I feel like playing him at 2 is perfect. We only have 2 targets for him to bounce that's proactively good for us, but he's still a great card. And if anything, he's just counter fodder. Next, for our 6 cost, we'll play 4 copies of Dracula Mihawk. This is the card you want to cheat off with the Buggy. This said Buggy to be exact. This is a 6/7 that says, hey, on play, draw 2, trash 1, and I'm a blocker, which is pretty amazing. A 6/7 blocker that draws 2, trashes 1 feels absolutely incredible for this deck. We're also playing 4 copies of Mr. One Dad's Bones. This is just a vanilla, but it's a really good vanilla. It's a 5/7. It hits really hard, and it's cheated off by the Crocodile, which feels pretty good. We're also playing 2 copies of the Blocker Crocodile, which also feels really good. This is just a blocker. This could easily be the other 2K 5 costs that I'm not currently playing. That being the lovely Mr. 2 Bon Clay. I know some people are wanting to play 10 2Ks in the deck. I'm only playing 8. This could easily just be this card, but I prefer the blocker just because blockers are just really good. And overall, it's just another 5-cost character that is also a beat stick. The fact that you can go on your 7-dawn turn, playing out him to play out him, feels really good. Speaking about 5-cost characters we can cheat out, we're also playing 4 copies of Mr. One Dad's Bones, because Mr. One Dad's Bones is also really amazing. You don't get the bonus effect that he gets bigger with every event, but he does have the on play of draw 2, trash 1, which also filters the deck even more. So that is 4 draw 2, trash 1s in the deck, which feels really good. Helps you filter out your hand, which feels really good. Next, we're playing 4 copies of Kabaji. This is just your 2K in the deck. Really great card. Worst comes to worst, you can play him. If you have a Buggy or Mochi on field, this character can be KO'd by battle, which also feels pretty good when you have the 10 cost on field, or the 7 cost, which feels really nice. However, this is usually just going to be counter in hand. We're also playing 2 copies of Charlotte Pudding. This is the one of 2 characters that is not a 5 cost or higher character that we're playing. It's just another blue staple. Shovel back your opponent's hand until they draw 5. Really great card. Helps fuck up their hands. Really good against decks like NL and other things like that. We're also playing, of course, Moji, because Moji's is another 2K cross-skill card that's searchable. That's also another 5-cost character. These are just really good staples. Finally, we're playing 4 copies of Mr. 3 Galdino, because Mr. 3 Galdino can search any cross-skilled or Baroque Works type card for your deck to hand, which feels really nice. And we're also playing 2 copies of what's called Bluff Island. Basically allows you to do is under a main, you may place 2 cards from your hand to the bottom of the deck in order to draw 2, which feels absolutely incredible. Basically, able to filter out your hand to see what you need to see every turn. And then finally, I'm playing 4 copies of Sanji's Pilaf, because it not only has a great trigger to draw 2, but it's also just pot of green. Why wouldn't you want to play pot of green in this deck? And yeah, that's it for the deck profile. I think this deck's really good at OP10, just because of the decks it stops. The fact that it can stop 4-cost characters feels really good. The fact that this deck is like insane into Blackbeard also feels really good. And overall, just a great leader in general. So, you all tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you on the next one, and bye-bye.